You just downloaded the show that was nominated Best Entertainment Podcast of 2013, only to be beaten by The Walking Dead.
That's where Tony's at, spshack. That's where Tony's at. Tony is a sneaking, Tony is a listening, wearing next to nothing.
Hey everybody, this is Survivor Talk with D&D. I'm Dwayne.
And I'm David.
And we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. Tonight is our listener feedback show for episode 9, Sittin in My Spyshack.
Including in tonight's feedback show will be the ever-popular and ever-growing Baker's 15.
Yes.
Which I think the second week was Baker's 16, Baker's 17, Baker 35.
All right, but we've been doing well at getting it down. However, tonight's topic will include production manipulation, whether it's inadvertent or intended. So, therefore, on the audio podcast, I'm going to put the Baker's 15/30/whatever we want at the end of the audio podcast. All right? So the Baker's 15 for the audio podcast will be at the end. Those of you lucky enough to watch us live will get it as we record it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Baker's 15 tonight. So, hey, I got a couple shout-outs to make. A shout-out to Janice Tillery for supporting us, supporting D&D through Patreon, which is www.patreon.com/survivortalk. Thank you, Janice, for doing that. Also, 2 PayPal donations. Thank you to Becky for her monthly contribution. And Wendy, I don't think I ever thanked her. She did a one-time contribution last week or a week before, a very nice one. So thank you very much. Of course, the easiest way to support us, if you don't want to do that either Patreon or Amazon, Patreon or PayPal, is just go to Amazon and do some shopping. All right? Buy yourself I don't care what you buy. Mama's Day's coming up. All Stars is on sale for like $15.
Mm-hmm.
Just shop Amazon. All right. So all 3 ways can be found at survivortalkwithdnd.com/support. It is time to get to our listener feedback.
So this is going to be hard to do this without knowing that we haven't talked to Andy yet.
Oh, no. Hey, those of you on the audio podcast, we've already talked to Andy. We're just putting it at the end.
Thank you.
So we're not trying to hide anything. We've already talked to Andy, and we talked to him for quite a bit, and we encourage you to listen to it at the end of the podcast. So first, we have Ian. I don't know where Ian's from. He probably says it, and I don't remember. So go ahead, David. Ian.
I'm new to Survivor. This is only my second live season, though I've been watching old seasons, and I've quickly become an addict and watched old seasons. Where is the love for Trish? She has been quietly playing the best game. Got the Cliff vote done, got Cass to flip, and got the Tony Alliance in power. She saw Jeffra potentially flipping and called out Tony to get that smoothed over and keep the alliance together. Though it hasn't been shown, it would make sense, not surprise me, to learn that Tony, Wu, and Trish have a Final 3 alliance. I think, even Tony said that. He pointed out that was the 2 people he trusted, along with Cass, but I'm almost positive he said him, Wu, and Trish. Nor would I be surprised that any or all of Cass, Jeffra, and LJ had Final 3 alliances with Trish. I wouldn't either. So it totally makes sense for Trish to want to keep her alliance from blowing up. Tony has been more obvious, but Tony doesn't get there without Trish. Better still for her, no one has noticed, so she isn't a target. She might not win, but she is quietly playing the best social strategic game. I would agree. That's why she's been at the top of my rankings for several weeks.
Yeah, she's kind of a surprise. But the more we watch her play, the more she surprises me.
It's almost like her game improved. Her edit improved after Lindsay left, after the merge.
You know that person that you see like day one, and you're like, oh, they're going home. You mean
like Tony?
Yeah, like Trish just kind of had that vibe. I don't know if I actually said I thought she was going home first. I don't remember, but I just did not expect her to come to be here this far and to really have good arguments of why she could win this whole thing.
She was a lot of people's first to leave the Brawn tribe. A lot of people's picks to be gone, and to me, she's gotten better with the days. Like wine improves with age, she's gotten better with the game. As the game goes on, she's finding places to talk to people, merge with people. She's probably even talking to Tasha and Spencer, keeping them happy to a degree, but at the same time, she's really keeping Cass and Jeffra close and keeping that alliance. I think she's already got Wu and Tony, and she's trying to keep the other 2 happy.
Yeah, well.
And doing a good job.
she's going to pull this thing off and win it and surprise everybody. And Probst is going to go, dude, gummy.
Tony!
All right, next we have Mike Egan. Hi, guys. Last week I predicted unless Tony found something, he would be gone. Well, I guess he did. Or did he? The implausible, made-up BS explanation of Tony, ? Is supposed to make sense to us. It might have been more palatable had the special powers idol not been so obscured. When you are digging in the ground next to a tree that seems to go on forever without a discernible clue, that's pretty well game, set, and match for me. Phony. Tony seemed to be looking up a lot while digging. I guess it was to read the cue cards the Survivor production gods held above him. This development has spoiled the entire season for me. Well, you're definitely going to want to listen to our conversation with Andy, Mike. It seems Russell had a lot of similar luck when finding idols, but this is even a step beyond that. If I was playing Survivor and found out after the fact that the powers that be gave a player an unethical push like this, I would be sick. Sorry to be so negative, but for the first time since watching this show, since season 1, I feel I wasted my time. Wow. Dwaine and David, to be honest, on a scale of 1 to 100% chance, do you put this as being a very bogus find? We go over this in our talk with Andy. A lot.
And I, when I first saw the episode, to be honest, I didn't think that at all. I felt like the edit was only showing us him because he was going to find it. And when I watched it again today, building my blog, it wasn't that far. He only stroked the ground once or twice when he felt something in the ground, and that's when he had to dig for it. So it's not like he got a shovel and dug a foot deep and had to find it. But, I mean, he was doing that to every branch and every root. He was pulling up and pulling around dirt and moving things around. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I understand the arguments, and I'm not going to disagree, but I don't consider it a bogus find.
Yeah. I do not think production told him where the idol was. I think that would be cheating. I think CBS could get in trouble for doing that, and I don't think they did it. So there you go. Next, quickly, I want to get to 3 things. Number 1, if I am Trish, the second I get back from Tribal, I ask Tony to see the fake idol. Good point.
Didn't Jeremiah say that I thought somebody said that he showed him the idol afterwards. I can't remember.
Okay. If he showed it, then they're idiots if they think it's fake, because that thing is gold. There's no way he faked that idol. No way. He couldn't have showed it. Mm-mm.
Well, maybe she does, and maybe it's the tease I'm thinking about, and he shows him the idol if she asks her. Maybe. Who knows? But that's a good point. That's a very good point from the person he's closest to, yeah.
Yeah. You might approach him in a joking manner, but one way or another, you have to nail down if it's there. Second, let's dispel the rumors that Spencer is a genius. He was a wink, nod, and few gestures from Cash and Tasha away from being replaced by Jatia, who wiped out the food supply. Couldn't perform in challenges, and whose construction skills were questionable. He called out Cass and said she couldn't win. Real bad move there. Then he let Super Floater Wu take advantage of the idol clue gaff near the water. He's good at challenges and smart enough, but most of what's benefited him is being in tribes or alliances where numbers didn't matter. Well, now it does. He has let the game come to him rather than vice versa, and if he wants to win, he has to flip that switch. Even the remark where both Spencer and Tasha said they would vote Tony for the million. Yes, they painted a target on him, but I can't think of a better reason to dispatch them quickly, as I banked 2 valuable votes for the grand prize. Speaking of Tony getting rid of them, he goes. Last, I just wanted to say the 2 people I hope win in this order are, who do you think he says, or are you reading it?
I'm reading it.
Okay, Trish and Tasha. Trish has really stepped up when needed to either dispel Cliff, recruit Cass, bounce Sarah, or damage control a shaky alliance. That's who should win. Okay, so that's 2 people now in our feedback that have said that, or at least said she could and should. Tasha is my second choice. A monster in the challenges, super personality, smart and genuine. To close, the biggest failure of all these players, except for Tony, is to play this game 24/7. Which one steps up to that level could win $1 million provided production lets it happen? Yeah, okay. Sorry for being so long this week. This was not long, Mike.
But it was perfect. It was fine, just like it was.
Oh, and then he wrote, I really was this time. Mike from Canada. Mike, what? I mean, up in Canada, like, are all your red lights only 10 seconds or something? So, what's going on here? Excellent feedback. Excellent feedback. So that's two that say Trish could and should win this game.
They're seeing the change of game as well.
Yeah. All right, next we have Enrico from the Philippines.
Speaking of short, hi guys, just a quick feedback for the last episode. Since everyone is talking about the Tyler Perry idol and how unfair it is, I think part of me wants to root for the underdog and wished it was one of Tasha, Spencer, Jeremy who got the idol. But if there's any person who's likely to get it without clues, it is Tony. He is hardworking and paranoid. For that alone, I think he deserves it. Besides, the existence of the idol was formalized during the merge. It took him days to finally get it. On another note, I'd like to ask you guys a hypothetical question. Would it be better if the powers of the Tyler Perry idol was explained or announced right in the beginning? Like to create more paranoia or drama or more action as they scramble for it. Also, if it is found earlier on, it may be easier for it to be flushed. What do you guys think? So at the merge, do you think they should have actually read out what the exact powers of the idol were?
Yes, I agree with Enrico. I think if they had done that, it would have made this special powers thing, but we don't really know what they are, to this is what it is. We better not let anybody else find it.
I'm picturing the camp and a sign that says day 1 of the merge, and it shows everything behind it, and then it shows day 10 of the merge, and there's flat land all as far as the eye can see, where everybody tore down stuff.
That's right.
The idol. And that's what they wanted. So maybe you're right. Maybe they should have done that.
Yeah.
Finally, about Jeremiah. A friend of mine who's part of our Filipino Survivor fans community got to chat with him online. He says he's very nice and gracious, so I guess he is a beauty inside and out. Cool. I got to chat with him a few times on Twitter, and he was very nice, very friendly to talk to. He's a Wake Forest fan. Now that we have the third beauty voted out in a row, can we see a beauty massacre with Jeffra this week? Or the predictable Tasha/Spencer? Till next time, Enrico from the Philippines.
What's funny is those are the three people upon whom I put points this week.
Oh.
Yeah, which we'll get to in a little bit.
I did too.
Oh, awesome. Lastly, not lastly.
What you did.
No, I doubt it. Next, we have Mike in Cleveland, the Amazing Race fan.
Mm-hmm.
Tolerates Survivor.
Yes, and us.
And us. Hello, guys. I'm starting to believe the so-called hardcore Survivor fan base are the same people that complain regularly about the designated hitter in baseball, the three-point shot in basketball. I didn't know anybody complained about that.
When it got first installed, yeah.
Oh, and the forward pass in football. Now he's just being sarcastic. Surely no one ever complained about the forward pass in football.
The Oakland Raiders did, but anyway.
What? What are you talking about?
Tom Brady and the Oakland Raiders. You don't remember the play where they said it was a pass and not a fumble?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would add a soccer comparison, but I fear it would be too boring for everybody.
That's not what he said. But anyway, I get your point.
It's exactly, but I fear it would bore everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't say it exactly like you said it.
If you're going to insult my sport, just do it right.
Enough with the whining about the Super Idol people. Personally, I love the Idol, and I'm really happy Tony is the one that found it. In my opinion, Survivor gets pretty boring to follow around this time of the season without an Ozzy-like person, or more preferably Ozzy himself, to cheer on. So giving Tony something only he could screw up makes the next two episodes much more interesting. I know I'm in the minority in this group with my disgust of the so-called social game element of Survivor. I would never put myself in a situation where others whom I have already defeated get to sit around and tell me if I deserve to win. Allowing someone else's prejudices to be the measuring stick I have to bow down to just isn't going to happen. I have never watched a Russell Hantz season, but it seems to me from what I hear he was clearly the best his first season, but lost because people didn't like him. I can handle losing to someone who has just simply better than me, but losing because the people I beat are angry just isn't acceptable. I wouldn't, nor have I, allowed any of my children to participate in any sport or competition where the winner is judged, not earned.
So no figure skating, gymnastics,
anything
like that.
No. All right. I would say he gets off his soapbox, but I don't think he does. Here we go. The season itself has been very entertaining to this point, and I hope it finishes strong. I'm happy I decided to hang in there this season. He's like the reluctant bride. I mean, it's like, why do you torture yourself, Mike? I mean, why do you watch the show? You hate it. Why do you watch it?
Because he enjoys the company of the Survivor Talk with D&D family.
I don't know. I don't know if even that's true anymore.
He does on Facebook. He loves us.
I do hope. I don't know. Listen to what he says. Okay, I'm not really crying, by the way. I do hope next season you guys hold off on getting friendly with active players until they're off the show itself. Once again, in my opinion, it has hurt the podcast this season.
Not going to happen.
No.
I mean, I understand what he's saying and what he feels in his opinion, but actually, I think it's made the season more fun. We've talked to several of them, not just one or two, but we've talked to a lot of them. But going back to his previous paragraph of hating the social aspect, it's just one of the facets of the game, Mike. I mean, that's part of the game. The game, and I've talked about this on Facebook, and he's going to say, I've already heard that argument. It's not survival of the fittest. It's Survivor in a social experiment. It's about social and strategy, and it's about physical.
Right.
You know, and I'm really impressed because Spencer, we were sold a partial deal with Spencer. He's not. We've learned, obviously he's also a track athlete and other athletes. So he is an athlete with brains, and as is Tasha. We knew that she's an athlete with brains. So these guys are multiple threats. They're not just brainiacs trying to win this game, which he would hate, by the way, if another brainiac won this game.
Right.
Let alone for a brainiac to figure out a way to get rid of the strong people. That just should not happen in the game of Survivor. Well,
God forbid somebody outsmart an athlete.
Then you're not following the whole game of Survivor. Just my opinion. I'll probably get Facebooked out for that.
It's like Mike, we love you, but it's like you want the game to be something that it's not, and you're mad at the game for being what it is. It is what it is.
Survivor and The Amazing Race are two completely different animals. They are not related. There isn't hardly any honor. If you want to see honor, don't watch a Russell season.
No, don't.
There's no honor in the Russell season. He plays a cutthroat game of Survivor.
Right.
And that's what the game is about. There is more integrity sometimes in Amazing Race. There's also whining, but there isn't maybe more integrity, but that's not what Survivor is about. They're not related at all, other than being on the same network.
Right. This is what he said, because I asked him, hey, bud, quick question. How has our show suffered this season? He said, you seem to be overly supportive of bad plays by both Cast and Tony this season, almost to the point of excuse-making for Tony. All right. Well, he is entitled to his opinion.
I find his moves rather entertaining.
Although, we do tolerate Mike and Cleveland's feedback because we like them. So maybe we are biased. Oh, we are in for it this week on Facebook. All right, if you have hung around, boy, I hope you've hung around because this next feedback's fun.
I am very nervous about this next feedback.
It features the Newlywed Game, where I am the host and David and Will the Giant Ninja are the newlyweds.
Now, you made a good comment about my son starting karate last week about it being inspired, but he doesn't know Will the Giant Ninja, so that couldn't have happened. He does know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I appreciated the joke because it's funny that we've become friends with Will, who, if you've seen, he has a video of him using a sword, which is pretty awesome if you haven't seen it. However, my daughter did take offense to his comment about soccer being boring and reminded me that her nickname on the soccer team, because of her skills in the goal, is the Net Ninja. She's been called that before because of the way she jumps for balls and goes out and makes saves.
Once every 10 minutes.
Everyone? No,
every 10 minutes.
Not this past season. This past season we played at a very high level, and it was quite often. In fact, she had her best season. But yes.
Blackhawks beat up all over St. Louis today. It was a great game.
That has nothing to do with soccer. You're just completely changing sports.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
See, I listen and tolerate his long-winded points, and then I make a point, and he just completely changes to another sport altogether.
Yes. Hey, it's fun to mess with you, David.
You can try.
I actually do enjoy watching soccer.
Wait a minute. What kind of a newlywed game?
Yeah, well, let's just listen to his feedback, and he will explain it.
Do I need to take notes?
No.
Okay.
Enjoy. Our last feedback for the evening, and after which we will give you our CBS Express teaser and some Survivor Challenge results, is Will, the Giant Ninja.
What's up, guys? It's Will from Wonder Lake again, a.k.a. the Giant Ninja. Well, this episode changes everything, so I'm going to change the way I do my feedback. I'm going to give you the Giant Ninja's predictions for the rest of the season, followed by my version of the Survivor Cagayan Newlywed Game, with Dwaine as the host and soccer-loving David as my partner in crime. So, without further ado, here goes. This season is about to skid to a dramatic halt. What had the makings as one of the best seasons in recent memory is about to be flushed by the Toilet Perry Idol and an unknown women's alliance of 3. The next boot is Spencer, then Tasha. Unless Spencer happens to win immunity this time, then you can flip that. But either way, they're the next 2 out, I'm afraid. Final 5 is the alliance. And because everyone will know that Tony has his TP idol, Wu is voted out at 5, and then Tony at 4. We're left with a final 3 of Trish, Cass, and Jeffra. And Trish wins. Now, before anyone gets too disappointed, Trish will be a deserving winner. As noted last week, she'll have legitimate arguments for having controlled the game. Her big moves. Number 1, she engineered the top 5 alliance. Flipping the game against Uncle Cliffy when staying with her bronze seemed like the easy choice. Number 2, she convinced Cass to flip at 11, giving her group the numbers. Number 3, she brought Jeffra and Tony back into the fold when it seemed like her alliance was crumbling. She even went so far as publicly scolding Tony, not because Tony needed to be scolded or because Trish needed to scold him, but rather because Jeffra needed to hear Trish scold Tony. And number 4, she will be seen as the engineer of the Women's Alliance that rode Tony all the way to the end and then dumped him before the final tribal council. Kudos to Trish, our sole survivor.
By the way, we talked about that in our recap show about how she didn't do that for her benefit in the water, but she did it for Jeffers. Do you remember us talking about that? Are you there, David? Because I don't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was muted because I didn't want to interrupt his audio feedback. But yeah, I remember talking about that very much.
Yeah. So he's like the 3rd person now that's really giving props to Trish?
As soon as he got to a final 3 and Tony was gone and he had Cass, Jeff, and Trish, I wrote down Trish as number 1. I just because I felt where he was going, and I agree absolutely if that's the way it goes.
Well, if you continue to agree with him, then you might win the Newlywed Game. Let us continue.
Oh boy.
Now, how can anyone thwart my prediction, and who can do it? The answer is Tony, and he has a very specific path. Tony needs to do the unthinkable. He needs to align himself and Wu with Spencer and Tasha. Amazingly, that's his best chance at getting to the end at this point. And if he does, he's got an argument against Spencer and Tasha that nobody else does, assuming they're the final 3. And Spencer and Tasha might just split votes. That said, I don't see it happening. So, with that out of the way, let's play a little Survivor.
Did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see.
Huh?
I was hoping he'd give the argument that Tony has that they don't have, because Tony could say, even though these 2 were going to vote for me, I kept them because I couldn't beat you all. But that late in the game, I could see some of those people like Cass going off saying, why did you boot me out? You know, I thought we were going to the final. I'm not sure he could beat Spencer and Tasha or either one of them. That's what I don't think it would. Definitely wouldn't. I don't think it would happen at all. Taking Wu is good, but taking one of the other ones is risky because you're sending off 3 people.
Yeah. All right, time for the Newlywed Game.
Newlywed. Here's how this thing works. Dwaine is the host. He, and he alone, knows my answers to the following questions.
Oh, gosh.
Dwaine will be pausing after every question, getting David's answers, and remember, David is trying to match my answers, and then pausing again after I answer to see whether or not we've got a match. And
Do you understand the rules?
So he and I are the couple that are. I'm trying to guess what he's going to say to the question. You have the questions. Well, I guess he's got the questions.
All part of the audio podcast.
He's got one of those voices. Either he's trying to sell me something, or I'm listening to a test where I take, because I do a lot of classwork online for my company or my last company, and it was a lot of, when you read the question, you want to listen to each answer properly. I feel like I'm being tested.
Yeah.
And now I am being tested.
Hi, I'm Will the Giant Ninja. It's time for the newlywed game. All right, here we go. He's almost a little Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
All the way.
No, I think your impersonation of him is a little hard.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
He's the judge.
I'm the judge.
So let's see whether David and I can get 5 out of 5. Number 1.
What, David?
I thought he was your lawyer. He's not. I'm not supposed to be close.
He's
close
not my lawyer.
He's your Facebook lawyer.
No, see, y'all have a bond. All right, here we go.
Other than our size, he hates soccer, and he's not on my corner.
Can you imagine? I mean, he can't possibly be super fast. I mean,
have you seen the sword video?
I gotta see the sword video.
I'm not walking near the sword.
All right, here we go.
Tony is the most fun survivor to watch since blank. Tony is the most fun survivor to watch since blank.
All right.
I know who I would say.
Well,
I would say Russell, because I really, no matter what people thought of Russell, I loved watching Russell play. What Will would say?
come on. Y'all are so like-minded.
Well, if he's like me, then he would say Russell, because I enjoyed watching Russell play.
All right, let's hear what he says, or see if he thinks I'm not intelligent enough to know how to play this game.
Dwayne, you can go ahead and pause it and get David's answer.
Thank you, Will.
My answer, Tony is the most fun survivor to watch since Russell Hantz. And he might even pass him. The man is an absolute joy to watch. And I hope that I'm wrong in my Trish prediction, because Tony is the best player this season.
Booyah! 1 for 1.
It's okay to pause now. I'm sorry, it's just funny. I mean, if I was winging it, then yeah, okay. I mean, but I listened to this whole thing to make sure I could do this correctly. All right, here we go. We are 1 for 1, Will. I know you're watching. You're 1 for 1. Big old smile on his face because his Blackhawks won today. Here we go.
So, David, did we get a match?
Yes.
Number 2. Spencer has been compared to Cochran all season long, but that comparison is short-sighted. The past 2-time survivor that Spencer is most like is blank. The past 2-time survivor that Spencer is most like is blank.
Dwayne, you can pause the recording now.
I'm keeping the camera on.
I'm waiting for him to say, if you guessed Russell, press 1. Did you get it right? Past 2-time survivor.
This is available in Spanish.
See, if I knew is Will Watts seeing every season? I mean, is he talking every 2-time survivor?
Uh-huh. Which 2-time survivor is whoever he said most like?
Who is Spencer most like?
Yes, who is Spencer most like?
Well, I think Spencer, his best moments come at Tribal Council. I mean, otherwise, I kind of agree with was it Mike from Canada who said that Spencer hasn't really done that much. He's falling into different places and different times. He's done well at challenges. Otherwise, he's more of a idle player at Tribal Councils.
So 2-time player. 2-time player. That's the key. Has to be a 2-time player.
He's not like Scoopin', I don't think at all. Penner's a 3-time player. 2-time player, 2-time player.
Will likes to throw the whole 5-minute feedback thing out the window, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Will the giant ninja lives in Wonder Lake?
Well, Malcolm was good because he fell into tribes and he fell into numbers, and he's played just twice. He liked playing idols at tribal council. Who else played idols at tribal council? Russell's a 3-time. Ozzy's a 12-time. Boston Rob's a 15-time. It's none of those guys.
Coach,
Well, just to
how
save
many times did Coach
time,
play?
I'll go with Malcolm.
Malcolm. Let's see what Will.
Although I don't think Katya would agree that it was Malcolm.
All right. Let's see what Will the Giant Ninja says.
Again, we should have been paused and had Dwaine get David's answer. My answer.
Will, I am not an idiot.
He's been your lawyer, so I think he knows.
Will, come on. Cut me some slack.
That's so funny. You should have given time for David to answer.
All right, here we go. I'm putting the camera on you so they can see your reaction. Just don't make noise, or it'll make this not be heard.
The past 2-time survivor that Spencer is most like is Malcolm. Malcolm's braininess has always been underappreciated because of his long hair, just like Spencer's brawniness is underappreciated because of his short hair. Malcolm and Spencer are both young, smart, and athletic superfans. They are true triple threats, playing this game in a very similar way. Hopefully, Spencer can do a little better than Malcolm did in his 2 tries.
2 for 2.
And Malcolm did get the Final Four the first time, but once he said that, it actually made even more sense because just the way they played. They're both challenge threats, and they're both, I don't know, they're both good sound bites too, for the most part. Actually, I was lucky. He was the most recent 2-time player I could think of.
All right, here we go.
Number 3. Assuming a final 3, the only way Cass can win this game is if she's sitting there with blank and blank. Assuming a final 3, the only way that Cass can win this game is if she's sitting there with blank and blank.
Come on, I want to hear the part of please pause at this point. Only way Cass could win is if she's with Wu and Jeffra, because she can't beat Spencer or Tosh or Tony, and certainly not Trish at this point, I would think. So I would say Wu and Jeffra.
All right.
My answer. The only way Cass can win this game is if she's sitting there with Jeffra and Wu. And maybe not even then. Now, I love
Hey, you did it, David.
I got it backwards, but I got it.
All right, all right.
me some Cass. Admit it. You thought I was going to forget to say it. I love Cass.
All right. Here we go.
But she's not winning this game unless she can get Wu to flip on Tony and she can dump Trish along the way. And I don't know whether she realizes that fact. She can't beat Spencer. She can't beat Tasha. She can't beat Tony, and she can't beat Trish. That will make it very difficult for her to get the million. And even if she's there at the end with the ideal pairing, the tiny ninja may steal it from her. Number 4, Tony finding the toilet Perry idol was the blank thing that could have happened to his game. Tony finding the toilet Perry idol was the blank thing that could have happened to his game.
So you have 2 choices.
The choices are probably best or worst.
Right.
And since he called it the toilet Perry idol,
Well, that's because he doesn't like the idol. Maybe because it gives Tony too much power.
I kind of liked my argument, which just kind of hit me today, that if Tony goes to the end using this idol, it's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt those that he sends to the jury, and he's going to send them there, and they're going to say, you're not going to leave it, but he found that stinking idol, and he used it against us, and just bullied his way to the end using that idol. You know, because Tony is not, he's not Yule, whereas Yule is seemed more laid back, strategic, won challenges. Tony's more in your face, as in, hey, the kid's messed up. You know, Jeff, don't you think the guy messed up by playing that idol this time? You know, and he's kind of played in your face sometimes. I think it's going to be. I think it could be the worst thing to happen to Tony's game, although I can see how it can help him. But I don't like this idol, and I don't like what it does. I don't like the asterisk it puts on people. And since it has happened, since there are fans in this game, and since it has been played in a previous season, and people talk about Yule having an asterisk, even though I really think he could have won anyway, I guess I would say the worst thing to happen to his game.
All right, so you think you and Will agree that it's the worst thing. All right, here we go.
Of course, I just made an argument for myself, not his argument. But we'll see.
My answer, Tony finding the toilet Perry idol, was the worst thing that could have happened to his game. Had it gone unfound, or had Trish or Cass or Jeffra or Wu found it, his alliance would have continued to see him as a goat. They wouldn't be turning on him until Final Five at least. And Cass was already trying to convince folks that everyone was annoyed by him and that he would lose in the end. I think he was more likely to make it to the final tribal council before finding the TP idol. Sure, this gives him a free shot to the final four, but everyone will be looking to boot him at that spot now, whereas he might have been a targeted for, whereas he might not have been a targeted for had anybody else found the idol. Number 5, assuming a final 3 of Trish, Cass, and Jeffra with 8 jurors, Trish gets blank votes. Assuming a final 3 of Trish, Cass, and Jeffra with 8 jurors, Trish gets blank votes. And feel free to tell us who votes for whom, but we don't need to get that right in order to get the point.
Okay, I don't remember his answer, but I think they all 8 go to Trish.
No, I wouldn't say all 8 of them do.
Well, see, that's why he didn't want to play with me. He wanted to play with you.
Actually, I was still thinking about his previous comments about Tony being the worst situation, because I think if he's smart, and he could be smart in playing it this way, he could show this idol to Trish and say, look what I've got, and look what the 5 of us have. It's no good after 5, so the 5 of us are going to use it to get rid of Spencer and Tosh. And then whoever else we all want to get rid of. So, I mean, him having it, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I still think it could hurt him when it comes to the jury. So, let's see. Sarah, Morgan, LJ. LJ could go that way.
Mm-hmm.
So how many? He said final 3, which leaves how many jurors?
8.
8 jurors. Wow.
Do you want to say who votes for who and just?
Yeah, it might be easier. I think Jeremiah would actually vote for. Well, it depends on if they vote personal or if they vote who played the best game. I don't think Cass gets any votes.
Jeremiah's going to vote personal.
I think he'll vote Jeffra then. I think Spencer would probably vote Trish because, one, Jeffra didn't flip, and I think she's played a better game.
I agree.
I think Tasha would also vote Trish because if you can't vote Tony, she'd probably vote Trish knowing how much Trish did with Tony in the game.
And she likes to strategize. Absolutely.
I think LJ would vote Trish, even though he was closer to Jeffra, because he has more respect for the game, and he'd say that he got close to Trish, trusted Trish, and she did not flip on him, even though Jeffra didn't either. I still think it's more of a game strategy vote. Sarah, on the other hand, could vote Jeffra just because, well, Jeffra voted for her too, but, well, who would vote for Jeffra? Jeremiah. I would say Tony and Wu probably vote Trish too, out of respect. I would say 7-1 Trish.
All right.
My answer, assuming a final 3 of Trish, Cass, and Jeffra with 8 jurors, Trish gets 7 votes. Jeremy votes.
Man!
Boom, boom! Is he my lawyer now? That's all I want to know. Is he my lawyer now?
You rocked it. I like these feedback where they question you. Please do not question me, y'all. I'm just here for the looks.
Well, look, that was in my contract. Never question Dwaine, so it means y'all can't either.
David's the survivor brain.
No, that was a guess.
All right, so let's see what he says. I think he says Jeremiah votes for Jeffra.
Votes for Jeffra.
Yes, he did.
I hope we got at least 4, David. Well, that's all for now. Later, peeps. Will at the Giant Ninja.
That was so much fun.
It was funny because I actually had it more split when I first wrote, when I was remembering the names and I was writing them real quick. I actually had more of it split, and then the more I started talking about them, names started sliding over the Trish.
Yeah. Well, that was fun, y'all. That was our listener feedback portion.
Cool.
Don't forget, after the end of the podcast, we're going to have a conversation with Andy Baker, where we're going to talk about production manipulation, if it's inadvertent or intended. So that's why you're looking at the podcast and going, well, they're done. Why is there an hour left? That's
More than that.
But right now, we need to talk about the CBS Express teaser, and I'm wondering if I need to bring back this song.
It's time to bring out chaos cast.
Based on the title of the show.
Chaos is my friend. Who do you think's going to say that? I mean, Tony's like, well, we've had 9 episodes and he's got 7 of them so far.
Yeah, but it's going to be focused on him. It has to be. Wait, no, Spencer.
That's it. Just popped in my head, Spencer, because he's going to try and get Tony up crazy. So chaos.
Because Tony says it's time to bring some chaos up in here or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I think in a confessional, Spencer will say, "Chaos is my friend."
There you go. One castaway's bidding strategy at the Survivor game. So I'm sorry, at the Survivor auction could pay off for them. Really? Because it's always paid off in the past.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, castaways draw rocks for a huge advantage in the game. We actually get to see rocks. And another castaway decides to show off his idol in an attempt to ensure his safety.
All right, so there's 3 things here. First of all, it does sound like someone's going to try to save all their money to get an advantage in the immunity.
Yeah, and that goes along with the person who wins immunity, which is one of our fun office pools. I kind of use that to think about the first. Let's do those right now too, since we're here, since we're talking about. Then we'll do Shanda's notes. Is that all right?
Well, I want to talk about the second and third parts too.
Okay. Well, we can talk about this when we get to the fun office pools. Let's go to the second part.
They draw rocks for a huge advantage in the game? What is that? What could that possibly be?
You know, that's the first time I've read
I mean,
tweet, and I have no idea. I'm drawing a blank how you could draw rocks and have a huge advantage in the game unless it has to do with the challenge itself. You know, who makes the biggest splash, and you draw rocks to see who makes the big, or do they draw for teams? Although there's 7 now, right? 7 remaining.
Really, unless they pay for a rock
at the auction.
Yeah, like they pay for an opportunity to draw rocks for a huge advantage in the game. Maybe. All right, and then the last part is obviously Tony showing off his idol.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That would be interesting if they bring up an item at the auction and it's 5 rocks, and at the bottom of one of the rocks is a clue to the next challenge, and they bid on the 5 rocks. Which rock do you want? And then they have to draw the rocks to see which ones they get. That's right. That would be way too.
You get to pay to draw a rock.
Right.
There's a 1 in 5 chance that you'll get the clue.
And then somebody saves up enough money to buy 3 of the rocks, or 4 of the rocks.
Right. All right. Survivor Challenge?
Yep.
You sure you want to talk about this?
No, but it's going to change. An idol has been found that is not on your team, so it's going to change.
Okay.
So I'll do the points first. Let's see. Jeffrey got 5.
Wait. Can you do it by team, like your team first and then my team?
Why? Because it's easier to do my 2 people first than do all of your people, or just?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do it by well, nobody else has the same teams as us, so
I don't care, but it'll help me.
I'll do it by teams. Let me find Tony and his measly 5 points that he got this week because he didn't have an idol. Well, he does have an idol now.
Yeah.
Let me see.
You know, measly about it. He got himself an idol.
He better find more. And then Cass, my other remaining player, who are probably 2 of my lower choices in the draft. They weren't my last, but they were not the highest. Cass got 2 points this week.
All right.
For Dwaine, Jeffrey got 5. Spencer got 12.
Oh, what? Really?
I don't know. I'm going to check that one. Tasha got 8. Trish got 1. Wu got 4. Jeremiah got 7. So Dwaine got with Jeremiah the same amount of points I've got total for this week. And
And I
altogether,
got more on Spencer than you
he
got total.
outpointed me by 30.
What the heck did Spencer do?
That's what I'm about to find out.
We're going to find out. We're going to check on this right here.
There was a team tribal challenge of 2 teams, and of course, all 4 people were on Dwayne's team.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's see. Tasha won another challenge. People going on reward, that was a point each for all of Dwayne's team. Got an extra point.
Again.
Jeremiah made the jury, so he gets 3 points, but he's done. Wu climbed a stick, and he got 3 points, but he lost 3 points for falling off the tree.
No, he did not.
He should have. And then Tony, Jeffra, and Tasha said blindside. Cass said $1 million. Actually, I thought Trish had a blur, and it was early on. But anyway.
I thought she did as well. Shayna must not have thought so.
Castaway with the Hidden Immunity Idol was Tony and Spencer. Castaway that plays Hidden Immunity Idol was Spencer for 5 points right there.
But what wasn't that? We need to double check our original notes. Was that supposed to be played it and it saved him? Or was there extra points if it saved him?
I have to check the notes because she's got them abbreviated.
And then we'll need to see what we did with previous players that
Oh,
played.
believe me, if I can find 30 points to take off your sheet, I will take 30 points off your sheet if at all possible.
All right. Crud. I got to put that all on the post tonight. I hate doing that. Why don't you just put them on Facebook?
Oh, well.
All right.
do that.
I'll just let you do that. I'll say refer to Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. How about some fun office pools? I've already made my picks.
Me too.
All right.
The person who wins immunity is a male or a female?
True.
Yes. I
Right.
put male.
Oh, we're supposed to choose.
Yes.
I put. Oh wait, where's my notes? Female. I put female.
Okay. Who spends the most for a single item in the auction?
Shall we say the name at the same time?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Spencer.
And that's why I picked him to win immunity.
Yeah.
With that auction item.
Yeah, I know, but see, I think she ends up winning it because I don't want her to go home.
Yeah. Well, I really think 2 out of 3 chances is Wu or Spencer. If Spencer doesn't win with his help, if he gets the help, I think it could be Wu. Because I think it's going to be another challenge like the one Abby Maria won, where it was a little bit more physical.
Right.
And Cochran, for that matter.
Yes. Will,
Okay.
do you see me shaking my head? This is I just read your last post. All right. Points.
I put points on Jeffrey to win. Me and Faith are the only people that have chosen Jeffrey. Well, you said you talk about putting points on people, and I said I did put points on Jeffrey, but to win, not to go home this week. Just to answer that comment, yeah.
Your new
Jeffrey
pick.
is my pick because nobody else had her, and Faith in our group also picked Jeffrey, just because it doesn't matter at this point.
Wait, no, that means
It's
you're
because
giving
it
up.
doesn't
You
matter.
can't just give up.
No, I'm going against the grain.
There's no fun in beating somebody when they just give up.
Most of the people changed their picks to Spencer and Tasha, but I don't think either one of those are going to be there. I think Will is actually right. I think Tony's going to be in trouble at Final 4 or 5, and I think it probably will be a final of all women.
Okay, do you honestly believe Jeffrey can win?
If she's up against Cass, or yes. Anybody else? No.
If you honestly believe she can win, then I'm fine with you doing that. Otherwise, I think it's a sorry move.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask for your opinion.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, well, I've already lost, so I'll just make stupid picks. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah, well, I didn't pick Jeremiah. So
who did you upon whom did you put points?
I put
home?
points on, just in case, on Spencer and Tosh. I just split my points again. When I split points, I seem to have better luck. Unlike you, who was the only person to put 20 points on Jeremiah last week. Well done.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I called him and asked.
Okay.
But everyone's going to think I did.
Yeah.
Especially Andy, that conspiracy theory guy.
Yeah.
I put 10 on Tasha. Oh, I hope I'm wrong. 5 on Jeffra, 5 on Cass.
10 on Tasha?
Yes.
5 on Jeffrey and 5 on Cass.
Yeah. I don't have any idea. I do not
So
have
are you
a
just
crazy-
giving up?
No. I had some reasoning, but I don't remember what it was. I did
Okay.
this a couple days ago.
Gotcha.
Because once the new previews come out and stuff, I don't change my picks.
Yeah. So we haven't seen any pictures or previews for any of the challenges coming up. So.
No, I guess you're right. I do not have a crazy theory for episode 10, nor do I have a new parody.
Which means you should have one next week.
Maybe. Depends on if anything good happens this week that inspires me to write something.
Gotcha.
Maybe I should go hip-hop next time.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Or classical. You already did hip-hop kind of with Wrecking Ball. So.
Yeah, really.
Or heavy metal.
You know, because it is just screaming into the microphone. And I'll get that migraine that Andy didn't have.
That's right. It's
Andy
floating around somewhere. It left him, and it's floating around.
Right. All right, so we are going to send you over to our conversation with Andy, which already happened, if you're on YouTube. But before we do that, David, how can they find us on the social interweb?
Well, they can find us in the Twitterverse by looking for @Survivor_talk. And my handle, which really is just to repeat everybody else's tweets or post the blogs that come out, is @David_STWDD. And you can join the hundreds of others that have found our Facebook group and come join our Facebook group, which is a group that you got to just get accepted into. We want people to come in and talk to us. I mean, you don't have to talk, but just come in and enjoy the conversation. There's a lot of it going on.
Yep. And where can they find that?
That is at facebook.com/groups/Survivor Talk.
That's right. Hit the website for blogs. I think Shayna's is already up, and I saw you were editing yours. Is that right?
The first half's done. I have to do the rankings.
Yes. So hit the website for blogs and past shows and to shop Amazon. And we would love it if you would visit our Patreon site. Just look at it. I spent a long time on it. Look at it. Watch my video. Consider becoming a patron of D&D. We would love it. So before we get to Andy, any final words, David?
Nope.
All right, me either. So for those of you on YouTube, thanks for listening. See you later.
Are me and Will married now?
I think so.
Then I'm definitely out of here.
It's time for the Baker's 15. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing for your listening pleasure, Andy Baker.
Hey guys, it's nice to finally be back. It's been a while. It's kind of like we had recap shows there for a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, the catch-up shows for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a month.
Yeah. Well, you guys are busy folks on Sunday nights, so.
Well, sometimes, yeah. It's this season.
Yeah. Well, how did your show go, David?
It went really well. We had 2 weekends. We had like 4 performances each weekend. We did a little dancing, a little singing, a little praising, and the donkey did a little dance on the stage and left something for everybody. So it was really fun.
Little donkey do.
It was a little donkey pool.
They came for Jesus and they got donkey do.
It was a pool, believe me. It was not a dude.
Yeah, and then let's see. The week before that, I was in St. Louis, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I was on a mission trip to St. Louis. That was awesome. That was so much fun. So yeah. Now we did talk with you and Steve was going to come on tonight, but he's on a plane.
Likely excuse.
Los Angeles. And then you drop the name, I go to Los Angeles and then go.
Not only is he on a plane, but he's going to be, I believe, getting together for drinks with one of the know-it-alls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. He's dropping names.
Yeah, members of that lesser podcast.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Rob just celebrated. Get this. Let's see. Was it 2 million? 1 million downloads, or maybe 2 million, since January.
Yeah.
I mean, he does like 14 shows a week, so that's a lot. So way to go, Rob. You're working hard, man.
Yeah.
You got my respect.
Building himself an empire.
He is. Well, what he wants to do is he wants to be able to just earn his living doing podcasts.
Yeah.
So, and he's on his way to doing that. In fact, Patreon's helping him a lot.
Yeah, when I was getting to know him, when I was, helping him out, this was all a part of his design. He's a really smart guy. He had a blueprint, and has just gone after it.
Yeah.
So
Our
since you helped
design-
him and he's now at 2 million, we are expecting the same results.
Yeah.
My habit is to quit, to leave, and then people are successful. So
Yeah.
what you need to do is offend me or
Andy, it's been
insult
nice
me.
knowing you. Thanks for coming on, Andy. We may never see you again. Now, David and myself, our goal is to just continue having fun with Survivor.
Yeah.
Shoot the breeze during the off season, and when Survivor goes away, we may just have to do a movie podcast or something. But believe me, we're not trying to do this for a living. 2 shows a week is plenty.
That's the spirit to do it in, because frankly, that's, I think, honestly, Rob's greatest strength is he just likes doing it.
Oh yeah, he does.
He just likes talking, and he's good at it. So
Yeah, he is.
And he's always in his apartment. What's the guy gonna do whenever he moves into a house? Live from my house. Crap, that messes up my whole opening.
it'll be a man cave. It'll
Yes.
be something
He'll
like
call it his apartment. He'll put on the outside of the door, my apartment.
yes.
It'll probably have a big CBS sign in the back, sponsored and built
Yes.
by.
Sponsored by Mark Burnett, CBS. J.J. Abrams is doing a movie about him next year.
I don't know the way he's going. He could start doing his podcast from the Ponderosa.
Yeah. So,
Speaking of which, not that this is something to talk about right now, but the rumors are swirling that ABC might want to do a Lost reboot.
what the heck? I heard that, but I wasn't sure if that's true. How are they going to do that?
I don't know. We'll
Wait.
I've heard
Did
about
you
a movie.
write it?
A
Did
movie
you
possibly.
write it?
see.
Oh, is that why he knows about the rumors?
That's why you
Oh.
know?
No, I know nothing beyond the fact that Q's talked about it in an interview. That's all.
Oh. They really were in Armageddon. Not Armageddon. They really were in Purgatory. Which they were not. All right. So just to be clear, congratulations to Rob. I hope people let you know that we gave you a shout out because you deserve it. You've worked really hard. You've helped David and myself out several times just with talking to us. Great guy. Very proud of you. Very happy for you. And I'm really glad you're not in the running for Best Entertainment Podcast of 2014 next year. I mean, I'm just being honest because I really want to win that one. And you just got, 8 times the listeners or more. So, all right, man. You ready? Let's talk. And since this is at the end of the audio podcast, man, we got time until your migraine totally melts your brain.
We can
got
talk.
time. So,
Okay.
David has a few questions for you before we get into the whole, is it inadvertent or intended manipulation? Because we understand that I'll talk about that later. David, go ahead.
Are you done? Because that was like the Baker's 12 right there with just
Hey,
you.
you know what? We're having fun, and it's a good thing because I was in a bad mood before we started.
He still goes on, so I'm just going to mute him. Let me mute him. Okay, I can't do that, but anyway.
Hey, Armageddon.
See?
Armageddon.
And nobody knows what you're joking about except me. So anyway, that guy over there and I talked preseason about, because we knew this, I'm going to bring it right up, the toilet paper idol, which was going to be in this, Tyler Perry idol, which was going to be in this season. And we talked about how it was played for Yule and how Terry never had to play it. And we debated at the beginning of the season as to whether he should show it early or not show it until he has to. And we both took a side of it. I think Dwaine possibly come around to my side. But what do you think? How should Tony play that idol at this point? I mean, I think we're getting a hint in the teaser. Thanks a lot, CBS, telling us what's going to get shown or what's going to get revealed. But do you think that's going to be the right move for him to do?
They never show anything.
I mean, it's such a the question of the numbers game. We talked about Rob just a second ago. That I know I haven't listened to the know-it-alls, but I know that they talked about how it's not a death sentence to strategy. If everybody comes together with only 7 people left, they could get the idol out. But the problem is, 2 of those other 6 people are on Tony's side. You're never going to get the numbers to get that idol out of there. Maybe if someone had found it right after the merge, you could play those numbers games, split some votes, knowing that the idol was out there. The reason why I say that as a preamble is that at this point in the game, Tony should show it to everybody. No one will mobilize against him. No one will think about flipping over to a Spencer and Tasha, because even if they could get Jeffra, who's going to be the 4th? and knowing that they can't take out Tony. And so you're just going to have Spencer and Tasha isolated. Those are two really strong players that you can take out back to back. And at that point, all the lies that you're telling will come home to roost, and it just depends on, taking out a Wu perhaps because he's a threat to go on a run. I think if you're at the merge and you have 11 or 12, in that 10 to 12 range, maybe you hang on to the idol and only use it if you're in desperate danger. But I think at this point in the game, you show it, and it's going to let you coast, and people are going to rally around you. That's how you'll manage to do it. I mean, he was in the minority, but he played a great social game. I hate that his game has an asterisk, but his social skills combined with the power of that idol allowed him to shape the end game.
Now, do you think he risked at all having that count against him, as in nobody's going to like that idol once it's revealed except for Tony? If I don't have it, I hate that idol. I hate everything about it, everything it stands for. If he shows it this early and gets to the final, could anybody that's taken out because of that idol, could they use that to hold it against him and say the only reason he got there, we would have taken him out sooner, but the only reason he got there was because of that stinking idol? And I just think everybody's going to hate it, obviously, except for Tony.
Well, I think you're right. I think he's got enough of a resume at this point that the TP idol is going to give him a hit, but his counter argument would be, okay, I was in a lot of danger. I sort of orchestrated the game for a long time. I had this little window of safety, and then at Final Four, I had to either win immunity or convince people to come back to my side. And if, I don't know if you want to talk about Final 3 versus Final 2, but if there were a Final 2, then he'd have to actually make it through 2 tribal councils before getting to the end. And I think at that point he'd have the best argument out of anybody else left there. And so I think he'd take a hit, but I don't think it would be. I don't think he'd be doomed.
I don't know. I just feel like my thought was he shouldn't play it until he absolutely feels he's in danger, whether he waits for the vote or not. But to me, the longer he holds it and doesn't use it,
play it or show it.
I don't think he should show it
to
anybody until he feels like he's in danger, just to hold it into the sense that if he gets to Final 5 or Final 4 and say, I made it this far and I still had this idol, but I never played it until this one time. It was my get-out-of-jail-free card. I played it this one time, and from now on I've been playing on my own. So that he could say he played on his own until he played it, and then play on his own from there. I mean, I see both sides. I see how Yule used it, and kept people on his side. Like you said, people could rally around him. I just feel like it could be that asterisk that people on the jury say, you know what? He would have been gone at 6. He'd have been gone at 5 if he didn't have that idol. He does not deserve to be in the final because he found the idol that obviously none of them found.
Well, let me say 2 counter arguments to that. One being that one, when does Tony not feel like he's in trouble? I mean, when you say he should only play it when he feels like he's in trouble, that's every tribal council. He's paranoid. That's the way he operates. I mean, it makes him keep moving and makes him keep ducking and weaving. But I think he can't possibly keep that idol a secret. Even if you wanted to. But I also think people would counter that argument saying that, well, you had the idol in your pocket, you knew you had it, it made you make the moves that you did because you knew that you had a get-out-of-jail-free card. So whether you showed it to us or not, you had it. It allowed you to do what you did.
Yeah, but what about the possibility if Tony chose not to show it and only played it if they voted him out, right? And then he plays it. Otherwise, he never tells anybody. And he never gets voted out. And so he never plays it. And no one ever knows he had it. So, I mean, then it's not an issue in the game at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, it's like he didn't, play, that it didn't exist.
Exactly.
Although that said, would he then bring out that argument at the final tribal council and say, I had this thing, I never had to use it, that strengthens my argument? Again, I don't think that he could resist making that argument.
Yeah, but then I think it would be an okay argument, because then he could say, not only did I not have to use it because I never got voted out, but also I never used it as a threat to anybody. It did not strengthen my game because y'all didn't know I had it.
Yeah.
So There is.
In the end, though, I think it becomes, this is a sort of a purely academic exercise, just in that Spencer did what I wish more players would do, which is simply call out the strong player on the other side at Tribal Council and say, this guy's going to win the game if he gets to the end. He's already got 3 votes sewn up. And so Tony's going to be a target, like it or not, and he's going to need that idol, like it or not.
Does he tell people this episode? Do we know that for sure?
He tells somebody. The tease says, and another castaway decides to show off his idol in an attempt to ensure his safety.
Oh, well then, you're right. It's all
and the teaser today was all about, the 4 women putting together, and again, this is where Tony starts creating conspiracies, perhaps, where there aren't any. You see 4 women swimming together. They're going to create an alliance. 4 women against 3 guys, and so the paranoia kicks in, and he's going to show the idol.
Yeah. Okay, so he shows the idol. So the other, I guess once he shows the idol, you're right. The only way to actually get him out is if you were smart enough and you had the players that you could get them all to vote for him, but make him and everyone else believe that the other person.
But at this point, though, it's almost the numbers don't work, because even if the 4 voted for Tony, it's going to come down to who the guys vote for. If the 4 women were to get together to force it, it would take everybody, and then somebody's got to be willing to put their neck on the block because if he plays it, because they're going to be gone. So it's like you said, he's got to ride to the final 5 or 4 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing where you just can't convince those people in the middle. Like, of course, Spencer and Tasha are more than happy to roll the dice and to take out that idol, but Jeffra thinks that she can find her way into the final 3 because no one would turn on her, and no one would vote for her, so she's a safe person to bring. Trish thinks she can beat everybody. Wu thinks he can immunity challenge his way to the end.
Right.
So there's just no way to convince them all that they can't win. And honestly, it's such a strange season that way. And I just thought of this, that so much skill is brought to bear by some of the best players the game has had in their ability to convince other people that they can win, even though we know they can't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A good example of that would be Tyson convincing Jervis and Monica that they had a chance to win when we knew he would steamroll them.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, this season, I think everyone has themselves deluded. I don't think anybody is telling, I don't think Tony is going around telling everyone it's the final 3 and you could win this thing. I don't think that's how he's wired. I think everyone has it in their own heads, like, I can beat everybody.
Right.
Just a little different flavor to it.
And of course, this is why we have you on, because it makes sense now that he's going to show it this late in the game, because you might as well use it for all you can get out of it. Because if he does show it, nobody's going to willingly put themselves up on Tony's chopping block, even if they all vote for him to make him play. They have to have the numbers to make him play it, and then he gets to pick just about who goes home. So he's pretty much got to play it now just to guarantee the next couple tribal councils.
So that begs the question, does this Tyler Perry idol, or toilet paper idol as some people are calling it, has it taken this great season and taken all the fun out of it?
Well, I mean,
we'll see.
My feeling is that just in this window of time right now, the answer is yes. I think we're going to see some predictable booting. I think we're going to see, immunity challenge runs can throw everything off. And of course, we're all sort of, like in every season, seemingly, we're always fascinated by when the alliance has to turn on itself and establish a true pecking order, who are they going to go after first? Right. That's always fascinating. But for a few tribals here, it's not going to be all that intriguing until that idol expires. And then, depending on how many tribal councils we have at that point,
right?
2 or 3 or 1 or whatever it is, those will be fascinating because they're going to have to feed on each other and betray each other.
Now, backtracking, I would love to have this idol gone. I wish it never even showed up this season. What do you? And then I start thinking about, should we have idols at all? Go back to the first couple seasons when there's no idols. Then again, this season to me was better because Spencer and Tasha, coming from the weakest tribe in the early challenges, had a chance. They're being thrown into an anti-numbers game because they don't have the numbers, but they get the chance because they have an idol. So I kind of understand and kind of like the personal immunity idol that he found, because it does if it's still strategy, but it gives them a chance instead of just them being fodder to get sent off pre-merge. So I still understand that idol, but at the same point, to me, if they're not going to have idols, they need to go back to 2 tribes and play that game, because when you get into 3 tribes, you're really putting a Matt Sing on somebody and really going to put him in a down spot if you don't have an idol at least.
Yeah, I mean, I have, contradictory things are true. I think idols are great, and I think idols stink. I mean, the game in its purest form doesn't have them,
Right.
and we love the beauty of those early seasons. But people are smart, people know the game, and you end up needing idols to introduce an element of uncertainty, not only pre-merge but post-merge. I mean, we can all quibble with how many times they replant idols, who tends to find them. We can quibble with, or not just quibble, but we can argue vehemently against superpowered idols.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, the game needs uncertainty when the players have adapted to. You just don't want pagongs. We talked about this before, but the tension exists. What producers want, players hate. Producers want there to be some chaos, want there to be some unpredictability. The players, the great ones, someone like Kim Spradlin, controlled that season, was always in the majority, was what one moment in the game was at risk, and once she managed to convince them to take out Jonas, it was a free ride to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing, like she talked about it afterwards, like it was a magic carpet ride. It was strangely calm and easy, and that's exactly what the producers don't want. That's exactly why Probst doesn't like that season. And so you need elements like the idol.
Right, and then people say that was a boring season.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get the very things that they don't like.
It was, but at the same point, it was a season of one person playing a near perfect game and controlling it right down to the end, which I found still interesting to watch. But yes, I thought it lacked some of the quality of previous players we've had before.
I enjoyed it though because we were podcasting about it.
Well, it's such a delicate balance. Like you want to introduce elements to change up the game, and we're going to end up talking about this when we talk about producer manipulations. But the every time you throw in a new element, you can't be sure exactly how it's going to play out. They practice it. It's sort of like having dream teamers. Invariably there are challenges where the dream teamers, the people in the game, do things the dream teamers didn't even think of doing. Mm-hmm. And it's just the element with any time you add something like, I'm sure they thought the Medallion of Power was going to be interesting. It wasn't. Perhaps that was predictable. But at least, as Probst has said, we're trying stuff. Doesn't always work, and I get it. I do.
Yeah. Instead of relying on casting, they're relying on little odd things they think are going to make the game better instead of the people. But it's about the people. It's not about so much about the little odd things.
Yeah. I mean, you tinker too much with the formula. I think most super fans believe in the formula, and anything that takes away from it. I mean, that's why. I mean, the one thing I keep coming back to. I don't know if you saw the secret scene or the extra video of LJ when he was talking about the superpowered idol, trying to figure out what powers it might have, and he just rattled off like 2 or 3 possibilities, all of which were fascinating and interesting, like having an extra vote or being able to block a vote or being able to use it on 2 people, and all of them were interesting, more interesting than this current incarnation of the idol, which is, again, what Yule had. And the thing is, LJ knows the game. He's watched the seasons. I'm sure he knows about Yule's idol. And he didn't mention it when he was rattling these things off. Why? Because it's unthinkable to bring it back because it's so dumb.
Right.
And yet, and Probst, of course, throws Tyler Perry under the bus and says, "Oh, it's his idea." Yes. No, Jeff, you had it before, and you wanted to bring it back.
So that was the cameraman's last comment. Is there any other idols you can think of from past seasons that could be the super? Well, there's that that Yule idol, but surely you guys aren't dumb enough to bring that thing back again.
Yeah, exactly. Cut it.
Right. Answer that again without the dumb part. If you had the idol, would it be the dumbest idol ever? Answer it like that. All right, so Andy, by the way, listeners, if you have not read Andy's latest blog, you need to. It's The Baker's Dozen over at TrueDorkTimes.com. There's a link on our website over on the right column. So Andy, your article's been out for 24 hours, right?
Yep.
How much are people defending Tony, or because basically your premise is that production basically led him to the idol?
It's been mixed, as you might imagine. A lot of people, they just want to believe, and I don't blame them at all, that the show is closer to pure than I believe and to some degree know it to be. And it's, other people are saying, thank you for saying what needs to be said. But it's sort of it's that sense of ruining something beautiful. Like, I mean, I love the show, but I when I see something like this that doesn't pass the sniff test, I feel like I have to talk about it and just remind people, this is a show which from the very beginning has had some very strong manipulation, and to try to sort of turn a blind eye to that is to not see the show for what it is and not sort of hold the powers that be accountable to, let's make the show as good as it can be, which means not getting in the way. And I understand all manipulation is not, it's not bad. Like the idol itself, its existence, just normal idols, is a manipulation. It's a tinkering with the formula, but it's towards an end, and it fits, and it works. But it's just, there are lines, and they cross them.
Well, you think they cross them.
I do, but yes.
I mean, see, for me, I think there's inadvertent manipulation that just happens because we are human. So I'm a cameraman. I'm exhausted. I've been following this Tony guy around forever, and I'm tired. And he's not around the tree that I know where the idol is. So maybe I'm not as, my whole energy is different. And he gets around the spaceship tree, and my energy changes. And the whole way I act changes, even though I try to stop it. And so I think that you can't help but have some of that, but I don't know, but I don't want to go so far as to say, no, they wanted Tony to have the idol, and so they made sure he found it, which is, I just don't think that's what happened.
I think, well, I'm going to go on a sort of a long spiel here, but I actually, there was one Twitter comment that Jay Fisher, who's a part of yet another podcast, said, it could be just something so simple as, forget about extreme manipulation. They wanted the idol found.
Well, sure.
And they helped. And again, we will debate this, but the most likely person. It's not about the end game. It's not about any particular, player getting further in the game. It's just about making sure it gets found, because you don't start the season without this thing, without having it be found.
True.
But I hear you on. I think, just for simplicity's sake, I think there's 3 tiers of manipulation. There's the inadvertent stuff, which, like you said, facial expressions, reactions of the cameraman, being able to play hot and cold with them because they are morally and, vocationally obliged to get the shots that show players,
$1,000 bonus.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's happened enough, and the producers know that it happens, and they're not stopping it from happening. Let me just push that a level and say preseason alliances happen in returnee seasons.
Right.
In the early going, and when players would talk about the game after they left the game, or sort of leaked boot lists or whatever, they would get harshly talked to by CBS. Most notoriously, Russell apparently leaked Samoa. It wasn't such a huge sort of message board reader back then, but he was called out under the carpet by CBS, as I understand it. But now, the fact that there are preseason alliances, that stuff is revealed and leaked online, they just don't bother anymore. And when you allow things to happen, then the players are going to exploit the fact that you let it happen.
Okay,
And
well,
so, go ahead.
well, could it? Okay, so I see what you're saying. Like the show has become such that the returning players are kind of taking over almost in what they're allowed to do, and CBS isn't stopping it. But could it going back to they want somebody to find the idol? All right.
Yeah.
Tony's not okay. Granted, Tony's probably just from what we've seen in the edit, Tony is probably the one person who is looking for the idol more than anybody else. All right. But that's not to say that Spencer's not looking, Tosh isn't looking, and Trish isn't looking, and stuff like that. So what if, is it okay if, because they do want the idol found, they tell the producers, look, say these things to all of them, right?
Do you think they did?
So they all get the same, because since they want the idol found, have you looked for the idol? Have you gone down that trail? But ask everybody that. Then is it as bad? Because, I mean, what if Spencer had found it? Would we all be saying, oh, obviously they're manipulating it?
I mean, I think rather than having it, I mean, part of my whole issue is transparency. Just have clues. I mean, they've clearly decided that there aren't going to be clues to this particular idol.
Oh man,
That in and of itself, raises the question for me that it's the kind of thing they want to control essentially
right.
Who finds it, because you're not opening it up to the forces of randomness and who finds the idol and who they share that information with.
Right.
I mean, could they ask the same questions of all players and guide them all to that? I mean, they had 10 days to find this thing.
Right.
And they were all looking, according to Jeremiah in his post-game interview. He tore the jungle apart for 10 days looking for it.
Right.
So this thing had to be out of the way in a place where even the most intent searcher, Tony, wasn't able to find it. And when he did find it is when he was going to be in trouble, and it was in a place that he had never thought to look before, because he had said he had never seen that tree before. But boy, was it distinctive looking.
Of course, it's just always the last place you look. I mean, let's, like when my kids lose their wallet, and I end up finding it, it is the last place I look.
I hear you. I mean, I understand why people may be dubious, but my gut is that it had to be in an out-of-the-way place, even though the clue said that it was near camp. If it was truly near camp, one of them would have found it. I mean, like I mentioned in the column, and I don't want to just rehash the column, but I mean, these are players who know the game, and players, someone like Spencer, who is in desperate need of getting another idol in his hands. Yes, he had one, but another one, and he would be encouraging Tasha, and Tasha would be looking for it. If Jeremiah is looking for it, so are the other two. And so they're scouring this whole place, and they have hours upon hours to scour the jungle. And anyway, it's just whether he was led with the kind of questioning that I have in the column, I mean, obviously everything I share in the column is circumstantial, but it is, it's happened before, and it'll happen again. And again, it's a show that is riddled with manipulations, because in the end they're trying to craft what they believe is the best entertainment product they can, and they can't resist trying to guide end results. They just can't.
Well, like you said, this has happened in the past. I mean, as far back as season 1.
Yeah.
There have been accusations of this. It does make me think that it would be awfully careless of them, because if they were to get caught, if this is considered a game show and they were to get caught, this would be bad news for them.
Sure. I mean, I understand that, and of course that's sort of one of those arguments that's people throw out all the time, like they would never risk that, and yet we know that they risked it in the very first season.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, if you have three tiers here, that there's the inadvertent, then there's the game design stuff, like how they handle tribe swaps, how they handle reward challenges, the fact that they didn't show us how you end up with the entire Minority Alliance plus Jeffra going off together and having time alone where they can leverage her. I'm all about transparency. If that was a schoolyard pick and it happened that way, I want to see that, not only so I understand how it happened, but I want to see Tony's reaction. I want to see who's picking, and I want to see how they're trying to play it, because that's the worst case scenario for Tony, that those four go off together. So how does that happen? They don't show us. They, of course, will say, well, that's because of the amount of time we have. But that dynamic right there screams for 10 seconds of footage so we understand how it played out. Show us less of them being confused with the paddles and more time with the dynamic of how that came about, because I think that's interesting to us. And so they don't show it to us, and so it just begs the question. There's there's been all kinds of again, game design about I've written about it in previous columns where a good example would be the final challenge, Blood vs. Water, the final Redemption Island challenge, where it's just hold on to this pole as long as you can, and whoever holds on, it was the pre-merge one. Anyway, John Cody didn't stand a chance. Laura Morritt was going to win that thing. And Laura Morritt, they wanted her around for the second half of the game, and because her daughter was still in the game. Candace was already gone, and the other person was Laura Bonham, and Rupert was already gone. Is that a natural final challenge? Yes. Could they have chosen that challenge because it favored the person that they wanted to have there? Yes. And it's just those sorts of small things add up over time. In isolation, you can explain them away. In aggregate, you begin to think, the pieces sort of indicate that they have favored outcomes. I mean, like we've talked about before, when you have a tribe swap in fans versus favorites, where the egg smashing is going to guarantee that the favorites have a one-person advantage in both tribes and therefore will control the rest of the game, that's totally by design. And the question is why?
Okay, so have you actually been in a UFO spaceship?
I can go ahead and put on my I actually was thinking about crafting a tinfoil buff today. But
we are good enough friends that I can joke with you about that.
Yeah.
I don't believe the conspiracy as much as you're kind of doing.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why we wanted to talk about it tonight.
All right, so now it's my turn. I've been sitting here patiently for the last 45 minutes.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Letting you tinfoil guys have your rap.
He's talking to me, Andy. He's talking about me monopolizing.
No, not at all. I've been listening and taking my mental notes. Dwayne and I have talked about this almost every season, that I think the show is manipulated week to week as far as challenges, as far as timelines, as far as merges, as far as swaps. I think, like you said, they were trying to craft the best show possible. And I think Dwayne even gave a little allowance. He said he felt like it was set up, the whole season was kind of set up, but there were times when things could be adjusted depending on injuries, depending on other things. I think it's really on like a 72-hour basis that they throw things out sometimes, that they say, you know what, this is not a good time for merge, or we better merge now. Just like they let this season go farther because they had another person. And number-wise, it does sometimes line up that mergers happen at the same time, but I have no doubt that they want to give us the best show possible, and having one tribe go down to one with the Stephanie season where she was by herself was a horrible ending for that tribe, and it just did. Even though she made it to the end, it just didn't quite work out the way they wanted. Now, I also like Dwayne's thought that they possibly gave some of these notes to everyone, because like you said, this idol has to be found or it's going to be a bust, and I almost wish it was never found. But could the question have been posed, well, you've checked the tree mail and you've checked the camp, Isn't that path from camp to tree mail considered part of the camp? Isn't that like civilized part of it? Have you really gone over, what's to say it's always going to be hidden above? What's to say it's not going to be hidden underground? What's to say, I agree that those questions could certainly be asked and certainly be brought up. But I thought this episode was horribly edited to tell us a story too quickly and too obviously, because every person, Spencer, Tasha, and Jeffra, all said Tony's a danger and has to go. And he suddenly became the most wanted person of the entire episode. And Cass even said he shouldn't go because he's annoying, So he became the number one person in trouble, even though Spencer's very much in trouble. Tasha's very much in trouble. But it just told the story too evenly, right to the point of Tony finding the idol. And it became kind of obvious. And the vote was just as obvious, I thought. I just really thought this could have been edited different. Like you said, it takes 3 seconds to show these people standing around putting their hand in a bag of rocks. I really wish they'd have shown that for that challenge. It would have made the biggest difference. Because I saw that too and said, wow, no matter what happens, somebody's going to be on the outs here. Either Tony's going to win and be away from Jeffra, or they're going to win and he's still going to be away from Jeffra. So it couldn't have been a better reward challenge setup, to have a season turn into chaos again because of the opportunity to flip. But like you said, it would have taken 3 seconds to show them draw rocks out of a bag. Why can't they show us this? Everybody asked this. How was it done? Was it a schoolyard pick? Was it rocks? Just show us these little bitty things. I don't care. I could care less if Wu falls out of a tree from looking at Morgan like papayas. I really don't care. He's fine. He better not get hurt because of his natural ability. But take back that 5 minutes and give me more intricate details of how the episode came about. Not what happened. Show me a little bit more of how the things came about and leave some of this controversy and stuff out. So we don't have to worry about it. Instead, they gave us a Cliff Notes version of how we got to that point, and it really looked horrible. It just didn't flow to me.
So it asked for ridicule.
I thought it did.
They didn't do themselves any favors, certainly.
Right.
That I can understand the desire to, all right, we will edit the threat so that he's in danger, and which heightens his desperation, and in his desperation he is inspired to look where he has not looked before, and savior, there it is. And I understand, in storytelling that that had an allure to them. But what it creates is this sense of it's too convenient. And is it because the storytelling is heavy-handed, or was it that again, he is the main driver of the story right now, and because we know that they, or at least suspect that they have helped players in the past, then why wouldn't they help, of all people this season, Tony?
But why not Spencer?
And a lot of people have countered with that, and I've tried to, in my best, to counter back. Part of it, I think, is no matter if one of those two gets it, it's going to be the end result is going to be a game that is on, has a stranglehold. Because if you play out, Spencer having the idol, he takes out Tony, and then he takes out Wu, and then he takes out Trish, and he goes to the end with Tasha and Jeffra, and he wins.
Right.
It becomes somewhat predictable, and you end up having another John Cochran winning the game, and Probst likes players like Tony.
Okay, so just to be clear, you believe that they selected Tony and guided Tony and Tony alone to the Tyler Perry idol.
I think that's a very, very distinct possibility. Can say that with 100% conviction? No, but I certainly think that all the circumstances really suggest it. That they made a choice and they wanted that idol found, and when you put the two pieces together, who are they going to get? Who are they going to send to find it? Let's send Tony.
Send it to the guy who will actually set it up the flagpole and make it work and make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely make a good argument.
Yeah. Okay, so where I stand, just to be clear, is that if they did do that kind of manipulation, I think they would have spread it out more and not just wanted Tony. If they did that. Could they do that? Yes, I understand politics isn't pure, game shows aren't pure. I mean, I understand this, but I think they would probably spread it out a little bit more. Do you have an opinion, David? Do you want to come down on this somewhere?
Why? You two are doing a great job. Yeah, maybe they told Jeremiah, and then he went and told Tony, hey, have you checked that rocket ship tree? They said something about this rocket ship tree.
What's a rocket?
About space? What is this newfound thing about space the producers keep talking about?
Well, it was Tony. He called it a rocket ship tree.
Yeah. All right. So, well, let me ask you this, because we're going to wrap it up. But even if, oh gosh, if everything you said was true and they actually like basically came to the thing and said, why don't you dig more, and just like practically gave him the idol, then yes, it would really mess up the season for me. But right now, I'm still going to enjoy next episode. And I'm still going to love it. And I'm going to love watching all of them play. And I'm going to enjoy what CBS is putting out. So I guess what I'm saying is it hasn't ruined the season for me at all.
Good.
How about you?
I mean, for me, Lord knows I've taken a fair bit of criticism for, the stuff that I've written over the last couple of years. Basically being accused of sort of being a hater, not liking the show, wanting to tear it down, bitterness because I haven't been on, whatever. In the end, I love the show. I want it to be the best that it can be. I don't miss an episode. Even after the Bedlam mess, I didn't write about the show, but I watched it. I watched it to the end, and I can take goodness out of something that has been thrown off by whatever ended up happening.
Right.
I can set that aside and sort of take each episode in and of itself and see the players play it out. And some of these kinds of conversations are perhaps best saved for the off season, where we take the season entire and say there was so much great. I just wish that these sorts of things hadn't happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be watching on Wednesday, and I'm probably going to enjoy the heck out of it.
Yeah.
But I just wish that it didn't play out the way it did.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, I know Tony is a friend of the show, and I'm sure he wants to reach through the screen and strangle me right now. I still enjoy him very much as a player. The guy has never stopped playing, and as I wrote in the column, I'm constantly calling for producers to put more people like him on the show. He's gaming everything, and that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
I just, I hate to think that this can be so subtle as he doesn't even know that he got guided to it, frankly.
Right, I was going to say that.
And so it's really not his fault. It's just they wanted it found, they wanted him to find it, and the questions will lead you there. It'll just open your mind to other possibilities, and it's not that hard to do, and they've been doing it for 28 seasons. They know how to do it better than Tony does.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's been a fun Baker's 15, Baker's 45. But we did that on purpose. This was the hot topic. There is chatter all over Facebook, all over Twitter. Did they help him? It's awfully convenient for him to have the idol. So we might as well have the conversation. It's nice that we have a little different view on it.
Yeah.
And so I like it.
I look forward to discussing this more after the season.
Oh, yes.
It comes on. And we go over it again.
Yeah.
I have to say, here's the thing. Talking to you guys has made my migraine go away. So you guys are miracle workers.
Really? You don't have your migraine anymore?
Guys. What's that?
You really don't have your migraine anymore?
Yeah, it's faded away. It's lovely.
So take 2 and call me in the morning. Take 2 Ds.
Take 50 and call me in the morning. That's what it's been.
Take D&D and call me in the morning.
Have fun with the rest of the feedback, and I'm sure I'll be listening in tomorrow when I'm trying to not pay attention to students at middle school.
Yes. All right, it's been fun talking to you, Andy.
Always.
Thanks, Andy.
You have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your night.
You too.
All right, bye.
So, y'all, that was the Baker's 15, which turned into, obviously, the Baker's however long. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around on the audio podcast and enjoying it. We're going to, I don't know, that's all I got. How about you, Dave?
I'm good.
All right, see you.
We talked our strategies in vain. No, Trish, a simple plan I tried. We talked some more, my trust you tore. A queen you would not be denied. Don't you ever say I just walked away. I tried talking to you. We tried to explain all was just in vain. Maybe it's your tattoo. You came in like a wrecking ball. You almost made our kingdom fall. You must think that you're the queen of all your bossy plans, they annoy me. Yeah, you annoy me. I tried to talk beside the fire, but you were never gonna turn. Trish sat and heard our every word, and she quickly did discern that I might hear her say, won't you come our way? Our group really wants you. And I might just agree, you aren't good for me. Chaos just might ensue. I might come in like a wrecking ball. Time to make your shaky kingdom fall. Since you think that you're the queen and all, with all your bossy plans you annoy me. So I might come in like a wrecking ball. Don't you mess with me, you crazy cop. All I wanted was some compromise. All you ever did was annoy me. Yeah, you annoy me. Never meant to start a war. I just wanted you to compromise. Maybe even shut your mouth before I must apologize. I never meant to start a war. I just wanted you to compromise. Now I have to improvise. You don't see my plan or my sleight of hand. It's time to blindside you. It's time to bring out chaos cast. Just take things up and show my sass. No one knows how dangerous I am, but tonight they all will see. This time